California. Many say it's geographically beautiful but politically ugly. And the pandemic really brought that to light as many were scared into submission. Businesses were shut down, schools and churches closed for way too long. Fortunately, more and more states are lifting the harmful COVID lockdowns and mandates that have arguably hurt families and the economy more than the pandemic has. But the damage is already done. My next guest, Ross Johnson, with California Will Be Saved, will discuss the movement to help not only the Golden State, but the entire country. Take a look.
What we saw God do in 2021, I believe, is a snapshot of what is coming. Despite the enemy's diligent efforts to override California's narrative, the glory of God began to break in. From Tulare, Huntington Beach, San Diego, Newport Beach, Bakersfield, and Santa Monica, we saw God save the lost, heal the sick, deliver the oppressed, and activate the church.
Ross, welcome to the show. Powerful message. Tell us more about your mission.
Yeah, I'm so excited to just share. In the midst of so much darkness and chaos in California, like you just said, we are actually seeing so much hope and so much breakthrough. And I'm just honored to share that because now is a time where we just went through this crazy pandemic and we went through so many tyrannical orders, but we're seeing God move in the midst of this. And so we're just excited to share what's happening in our state.
And this is interesting. You have said where California goes, the nation goes, and where the nation goes, the world goes. Why do you think saving California will impact the nation and nations of our world?
Yeah, I mean, what we've been seeing is as we talk to people across the nation and they hear what we're doing, they say, is that really happening in California? Like, are you kidding? Are you joking with me? And so we really see there's this narrative here in California of darkness. And so what we're excited to see is even though the narrative might say one thing, God's doing another thing. And so we believe that as we shift the narrative in California where culture is looked upon, fashion is looked upon, politics is looked upon, that will actually make an impact all across the nation and the nations of the world.
Doctors have been talking about the mental health crisis caused by pandemic lockdowns. We're talking depression, anxiety, suicidal ideations. And the most innocent of all, our future, our children, were hurt the most. And now parents are worried about schools forcing the COVID vaccine on their children. What's your hope in regards to helping fix the harm done by politicians?
Yeah, well, here's what I can encourage all of us with. One of the most amazing testimonies is there was a 5-year-old girl, our next generation, and she was at our gathering. And I remember I saw her in the front and she was weeping, tears strolling down her face. And I walked up to her, I said, hey, what's going on? And she said, I feel the presence of God. And so in the midst, once again, of seeing what politicians have done, seeing what our governor said a few years back, we're seeing Gen Z and the younger generation actually have a real encounter with God that's not only transforming their heart, but it's transforming their mind. And we're seeing depression leave. We're seeing anxiety leave. We're seeing suicide go down. So it's just an honor to be a part of that.
Great to hear. You've already traveled to several cities, and you already gave me an example of how one young child reacted. How are other people reacting, and how can more get involved?
Yeah, great question. So one other story that stands out is we're given the altar call, right? We show up to the beach. We bring a full sound system. We're not just doing some little battery powered thing, full sound system. We're doing worship, we're preaching the gospel, we're praying for people, we're loving on the city. And so there's this story of this man and his wife who were walking the boardwalk. And I could tell they weren't with us. And so I walked up to him. I said, hey, man, what's going on? He said, listen, I heard the music. I heard what you're saying about Jesus. I need to get right with God. I'm drug addicted. I'm alcohol addicted. My wife and I are struggling. They stand up, face each other face to face, and repent to one another for things in their marriage that they had done wrong. And so when you see things like that, you're just like, man, I can't wake up tomorrow and live a normal life. So we see God breaking in on Gen Z, families, marriages, everything across the board.
And how can people get involved?
The best way to get involved is all of our social media is CA Will Be Saved. And we actually have a gathering coming up here in Oceanside on March 26th at the Oceanside Amphitheater. So if you want to get activated outside the four walls of the church, if you want to meet other amazing people who are believing for freedom and believing for revival in California and in America, we would love to see you.
All right, and we're starting in California, the state with one of the most strictest lockdowns of them all. Ross Johnston, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.